So rather than getting people to go and buy your stuff, what do you think might be a better way to, actually get that revenue or to get people to spend money with you? This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nik Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. So rather than getting people to go and buy your stuff, what do you think might be a better way to, actually get that revenue or to get people to spend money with you? What would be a better way to run your marketing and ads?
Offer them something free first.
Offer them something free first. Yep. So you could definitely offer them something for free for first. So what in terms of that there, what would you offer them? Any examples?
Like a PDF download or something?
Yep. Okay, PDF download. Yep. Paul?
Lead magnet.
Lead magnet. Yep. So those are names for things that you can offer. But more important than that is it's important to think about what are people's immediate needs. So what is their immediate problem or the real problem that they've got right now? So the immediate problem is not what you sell. The immediate problem is something that they need to find out now. Now, if I give you an example, some of you might have heard this before, so forgive me for those that have heard this one before, but I'm going to tell it again. I had chickens in my property. My chickens used to get out of my property, and I had neighbours that complained that my chickens were getting into their properties, which is quite rightly so, because they were digging up their gardens and eating their veggies and flowers and that sort of thing there. So I needed to fence my property. And in fact, the council had encouraged me to fence my property. Otherwise, they were going to charge me for the privilege of my chickens of wandering the roads. So being a non-handyman type of person that I am, I have a shed full of power tools. It doesn't mean I know how to use them, but I've got them. I Googled this here and it was how to put in a fence post. So I wanted to, so I wanted to know, how to put in a fence post. So think about that there. My need is I needed to fence my entire property, my actual need was, the problem that I had is I had to contain the chickens because I had a problem there with my neighbours there. I didn't want to upset neighbours. So that was my big problem. And, I needed a fence. Anyone that was going to sell me a fencing contract or to come and fence my property was not going to get my business at that time. So what was my immediate need right now?
Someone to show you with a video how to install a fence post. All
right. So that's what I was looking for, and that's what they gave me. But what was in behind that? Why did I want that?
Because ultimately you needed to fence the whole paddock.
Yep. And prior to that, I needed to fence the whole paddock, but what did I need to know about myself in that?
That you couldn't do it.
Yeah. So I was looking to see whether this was something that I could do as a non-handyman or whether I actually needed to employ a professional. I probably should have employed a professional, but I had a look at the video and I decided that I could do this myself. So my immediate need was not containing the chickens. It was making a decision of, can I do this myself or do I need to hire in someone to do it? Does that make sense? So if you think about your product and service and people that are starting that journey to look for it, what is the immediate need that they have right now before they're ready to buy? What are they making? So I'm thinking, since Paul spoke it up a bit, Paul films funerals, and I think you live stream those out to people that can't make it.
Yep.
So one of the decisions that people might make there is, can I film this on my iPhone, or do I get a professional production in? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
those that have done it on their phone have regretted it.
Yes. Yep. So they don't know that yet because they're at the beginning stage of the process where they're asking their questions. can I do it on my iPhone, or do I need to get someone else in?
Mm.
So the immediate need is really just answering that question. So if you think about that, and if I open that up, so, you know, Paul doesn't necessarily need to answer that, but what could you do? Like, if you think about your marketing, what could you do to help people sort of along that journey to answer that question?
Pros and cons,
Yep.
advantages and disadvantages.
Yep.
Talk about quality.
Yep. So in fact, you could directly answer that question as well too. So you might have, you know, someone, you know, can you film a funeral service, or is it worth risking filming a funeral service on your iPhone, and
or your Samsung.
Or Samsung, yep. Yeah. And here's what you can do is you might give people some pointers on what to do to produce good videos on a phone. So what you're doing is you're providing some helpful information in there. What I would also do with that is also provide some things that they can't do. So
Totally.
some things that you can't, well, what are some things that you can't do on a mobile phone, Paul, that you can do as a professional videographer?
Use 2 or 3 of them and switch between them into the stream.
Yep. Okay.
I do multi-camera live streaming.
Yep. So you can have 3 iPhones going, but how do you stitch all that together? Or 3 phones going together? How do you stitch it together? Really hard.
In a live stream.
Yep.
And also good quality audio. That's one of the most important things when producing a good quality video, because, and people don't realize it, that the picture can look miserable as long as you can hear clearly what is being said. If you can't hear, it doesn't matter how good the picture is. There's no point.
So, and people will forgive a bad visual, but they won't forgive a bad audio. Yeah,
Correct.
that'll frustrate them.
Yeah.
So can you see what's
happening? And you can't do that on a phone.
You can't. No, you can't. So you get the echoey sort of thing if it's at the back of the room, whatever. So here's what's happened here. So you might have this in a blog post. You might have it in a a download. I would suggest that would work really well in a blog post. So I wouldn't put that behind a firewall where people have got to give you their email address to get that information. I would have that in as a blog post where you give them some tips about how to create good videos on a phone, and then you introduce some major problems and drawbacks of videoing on a phone for live streaming for an event like that, and an important event like that there. So what that blog post is now doing is it's starting to sow some seeds of doubt in people's minds as to whether they should be risking doing it themselves or hiring a professional. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's totally right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
the harder you make it look, the more likely they're going to come and get me to do it.
Exactly. So, and the psychological impact about that from a psychological perspective as well too, is that when people then start having these seeds of doubt in their mind, thinking, oh, well, I wonder if I can get the audio right. We haven't got a 3 cameras there. Are we going to get everyone in? Is it going to be the experience that people want? Once you sow those seeds of doubt in there, and they say, no, look, we really should get someone in to video the funeral, then who are they going to get? Are they going to go and Google? They might go and Google other videographers, but who are they more likely to trust? Someone they don't know, or someone that's given them some information about what to do, and also help them to avoid some problems.
Exactly the point.
So by having content,
you've got to demonstrate though that having highlighted those things, you need to demonstrate that I can do it.
Yeah, you
and
can do it. So that's where your case studies come in.
All of those hurdles, all of those issues, and provide the excellence. Yeah.
Well, here's the interesting thing with that as well too, is that at this point you don't need to show that you can do that. You just need to be able to articulate that the problem and introduce those problems. What happens is that when you start to introduce these issues that people may have with it, people automatically assume that you have the answer and you know how to solve it. So you don't even need to come up with a solution in that post there. You can still leave it as it is. And then what I would be doing with that is having some form of email capture there and phone number capture, where you might sort of have something along the side or down the bottom, which is like, download the list of equipment you're going to need, or download the checklist, that sort of thing there, where they then give their email address and phone number. So if you think about the difference between advertising for videoing a funeral, your funeral videoing services, versus a link to your blog post, which talks about how to, video a funeral, which one do you think is going to get, or more likely going to get you an email address or a contact onto your list? So it's going to be that blog post. It's because it's too far down the process yet for people to book a funeral photographer. They're wanting to find out whether they can do it themselves. So that's the immediate need and problem they've got right now. Is that making sense to people? Yep. So,
also that because it's a relatively big ticket item, no one's going to buy just off the screen. They want to have a conversation after that too.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't try and sell online.
Well, here's the crazy thing: is that digital marketers do that. They will take your money and they will send them to your bookings page to book you. So they will do that. Some people will buy, most people won't. So just step it back. And so think about this for your business and your product and service. Step it back to, people's immediate need. Your objective is not to sell them on the first date. Your objective is actually just to have a coffee and exchange business cards, exchange phone numbers, that sort of thing there. So so it's small steps, it's not big steps. And then so if your objective is to get their email address, then you can actually start to have that conversation with them. So in Paul's example there, if you run a few social media posts on these sort of tips and tricks and downfalls of doing your own videography for funerals, then you can then once they've downloaded your check to get, or some hints, additional hints and tips, now you've got an email address. And here's another must, that if you don't have this, then you are costing yourself so much business and money. It's just not funny. You need to have a CRM. CRM is a customer relationship management tool. Traditional ones are, things like Entreport, Infusionsoft, Agile, Drip, those sort of things there. If you speak to someone like Steve Pfister, who's here, he uses a CRM that is in Facebook with the bots, and that's a more specialist thing, which is another really good way of capturing your leads. So you can communicate with people. Whatever it is, you need to have a CRM. And then when people download your document, they contact your messenger, whatever it is, that you have got their details to then have a conversation. So the next point there would be, you would follow them up with some form of additional helpful information. Again, you're not just sending them buy my stuff emails, you're sending them some additional information that helps them with that document that they've downloaded, the video they've watched, whatever, that sort of thing there, to help them along the process of making their decision. So you think about what's the next immediate need that they've got. So the next immediate need might be, I do need to get a professional, who should I choose? So you might send out an email as like, how do you choose, the best videographer to, give you the experience for your funeral? So you're giving them a checklist and information. Now, if you're giving a checklist like that, what I would do is research my competitors, and the checklist that I would make up would be one that if they were evaluating you, they'd be able to tick 100% of the boxes. They're evaluating your competitors, they're going to have some boxes that are unticked. So, think about how you can do that. So you're really highlighting, your strengths and what you do. So you might have that conversation helping them with that problem. So once they've solved that problem, your next email to them might be, well, how much does it cost? So it's like, what do I get for my money? How much do I expect to pay? Because people are going to be thinking about pricing. So your next email might address that. Your next email might be sort of some case studies, some funerals that you've actually filmed that, that you can show, to show some of your quality. So this is where you start to show, what you do and your capabilities and how to do it. And so that's not your immediate thing. This is now quite far down the track as they're starting to get to the point where they're making a decision. And then, your last emails are things like, they can be soft call to actions, like, if you want to have a chat about, some of the questions you've got, contact us here, hit reply, that sort of thing. And your last ones might be, to book professional videographer, here's where you do that, or here's how to do it. So it's a longer sequence. It's like, I was going to say being on Tinder, but as I've never been on Tinder apart from research, it's a process there that, if you, and I'm just assuming this is how it happened, I've got no idea, is that, you meet someone on Tinder, you swipe, I don't know, is it left or right or whatever, you connect, and then you go out to a public place where you've got an easy sort of out or escape. In fact, I sat next to someone at a coffee shop recently who sort of sat next to me and said, "Oh, are you my date?" I said, "No, I don't think that's me." And so she was waiting for a date, but I think that I was also her out as well, just in case the date that turned up was not a good fit for her.
Not as handsome as you, eh?
Exactly. Yep. So it's a progressive process before you might sort of go out on holiday. So your lead generation process, your customer acquisition process is just that as well. There are some where that's not the case. For most of our industries, that's going to be the case. For the industries where that's not the case, it is where there is an emergency. So someone has got a leak in their property, their water cylinder has burst, they need to get it fixed. That's an emergency. They need to get a plumber in. They don't care. They really don't care who it is, as long as they're quick and they can get there now. So that case there, it's pointless having that sort of blog content there.
Takes too long.
That one there is an instance of sales. So in that case there, it's helpful just to have your content there. It just goes straight to your booking and inquiry page. But for most of the rest of us, we just need to sort of, warm people up and take them through that journey.
Yeah, you're right there, because even in my own business, there'd be a huge difference in the lead time to a funeral as compared to a wedding. So
absolutely,
you could go through that process for a wedding, which I don't do anymore. But for a funeral, often it's a case of it could be only 2 days or a week. Usually, average about 5 to 7 days notice. So they don't have a lot of time.
So really, the point behind that is to really have a look at your customers. Their length of time they purchase. What are the decisions they make during the process of purchasing your products and services? How long does it take? What are the questions they're asking? What are they searching for? How long does it take? And having the answers to that is what you send them to in your marketing. Don't send them to the end sale. You're sending them to the things that are going to answer their questions that they've got right now and today. That'll make sense? All right. So that there comes down to stop selling your stuff and just start solving people's immediate problems. If you focus on that, then you're going to be successful with it. The other thing too is you really need to be building a list. So if you are relying on social media, Google, external tools to do all of your selling and marketing for you, you just need an event like COVID to come along, or the GFC to come along, or the upcoming recession to come along, and that's your marketing can stop overnight. But if you can get people off those platforms and into your own CRM, a customer relationship management tool, you've got their email addresses at the very least. Better, you've got their email address and first name. Even better, you've got their email address, first name, and a phone number. If you can get those into your control, then these external events that happen, yes, they're going to impact you, but you've got a means of being able to communicate with people. You can adapt quite quickly and easily, and you're not having to rely on other third-party platforms. So my recommendation is if you have you should get to a list of 1,000 people to start with. How many people have got 1,000 people on their database at the moment? Okay, there's a few of us here. If you haven't, your first goal is to get 1,000 people onto your marketing database. This is not your sales database, this is your marketing database. It will change your life. Because what you can then do is you've got people that you can now communicate to. So, if you've got an offer to put out, you've got a special to come out, there's a world event that's happened, and, you've got some sort of solution there, you've got something you can do something with. Once you get to 1,000, your next goal is 10,000. Once you've got 10,000, then it's game over. So you've got 10,000 people on your list, you send out an email. Well, people on your list, you send out an email, you get out of that there, you might get, I'm just trying to think of our latest open rates. Let's say you get 50 people that open it. And then out of those 50 people, you might get 5 people that click through on it. So that might be 1,000 people. If you've got 10,000 people, then I just add another 0 to those. So instead of getting 50 people, opening your emails, you get 500 people opening your emails. Instead of getting 5 people that click on it, you get 50 people that click on it. Instead of getting 1 sale, you get 10 sales. So that really just gives you more at scale. So it is an absolute must that you have a CRM, and that you are constantly generating and building your leads into that CRM, and then also communicating with them on a regular basis so you keep in touch and they get to know you. Now, from tonight, any tools that I've shared with you tonight that'll help you build your CRM? There is one particular tool. Anyone remember what it was?
That Snippy one?
Snipply, yes.
Snipply.
So Snipply is a fantastic tool to help you build your CRM. You don't even need your own website. You can put it on other people's websites and share the links out. And it's also a good way to share content as well. So you can use Snipply to actually share relevant content out for people. So here's one of the, we used to produce a newsletter. I don't do it anymore, but I used to write a newsletter once a week. Who here could commit to writing a newsletter once a week? There's one person there. Not many of us can. I don't have the energy to do it. It used to take me 0 time to create my newsletter. And I used to do it from inside my WordPress website. Lorena, she's my VA, who is on the session here today. She had parameters of, we actually set up an automated process to go and grab articles out there on the web that would be relevant for our clients. And we would bookmark them. It would automatically bring them into a portal there. Lorena would go through those articles and look for ones that would be of relevance to our clients, and would then take a snippet of it and create a blog post out of it. And the blog post was really only the title and image and the first paragraph. And then at the end of the week, so we'd publish those. I think it took about 20 minutes to publish a week's worth or grab a week's worth of content and put it onto the website. At the end of the week, we had a plugin for WordPress, which was a newsletter plugin that automatically sent an email out to all of our clients on the subscribers list with the title, the image, and the snippet of each of these articles. Now, people would then click on those and they would be taken not to our website, well, they would come through our website, but they'll be taken directly to the article. But the important thing about that was that in their email inbox was our name, was my name. So every week they had something in there from me, and it was something useful and valuable. It wasn't selling them anything, but it was content that they got from me that was valuable for them. Does that make sense? A really, really simple thing to set up. And it means you don't have to spend a ton of time, creating newsletters. You can let other people do the writing. You're curating it for topics that people are interested in. Jeff.
Yeah, you're still a minute on it. I'm not. Are you still doing that, Nick?
I'm not, only because I sold that business and right. I just haven't re-implemented that. But it's a simple thing to set up.
I've got one that is my trade secret. I go to a media group, and they'll sell you a whole series of newsletters, and all you do is just go and add your name to them, and you become the expert.
Awesome, even better. Yeah.
I think it's called from memory, Nick. I think it's called Click Media.
Click Media.
Yeah, and it's very cheap, and they're fantastic. And what they've got these pain points. Like, for example, this month's newsletter might be about why you need to be better on a mobile website, which is a fact, because 60% of our market's probably on a mobile phone, right? So you can scare people, then ring them up and say, hey, do you see our article about the mobile website? Would you like us to, yours looks crappy. Do you want us to fix it for you?
Yep. So this is a newsletter that you don't have to put together. Someone else puts it together,
correct.
Distributes it, and you're the guest author.
Yeah, you just brand it. You rebrand it.
Oh, you rebrand it, so it becomes your newsletter.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yep. So there's another really simple way of doing that as well. So again, hitting people's pain points and their immediate needs. You're just thinking about their immediate needs again. Correct. Not selling your end product or service, just their immediate need.
There's franchises do that as well. Like I was getting exactly the same newsletter from two different businesses that are part of the same franchise.
Yeah, correct.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Any questions about that so far? Is that all sort of helpful and making sense to you all?
Yeah, I've got a question, Nick. Are you using, there's a products out there, are you using any video emails, Nick? Have you tried those at all?
Yes, I am. So that's a really good thing to use. I use Bonjoro. And so the great thing about that, if you're putting out proposals, for instance, if you're in the business of putting out proposals to people and you include a video in your email to that, with your proposal, your conversion rate will just go through the roof. And that was my experience when we started using that.
Can you ask Lorena to drop that in the chat for us?
Yep. So Lorena, if you can just find that, it's Bonjoro, Bonjoro. If you just Google that, you'll find that on the site. So if you grab that and drop it into chat. Thanks for that.
That's perfect. Thanks, Nick.
Yep. And that's another good point too, is that not a lot of people utilize YouTube as a marketing tool. And what you can do with it is you probably already get emails from people and questions from people that are the same questions. Who here gets the same questions over and over again and find they're saying the same thing over and over? Yep. So that there's obviously a need that people have. It's an immediate problem that people have or an immediate solution they're looking for. If you answer those emails in video form, load them up to your YouTube channel, two things will happen. One is that you'll start to get search traffic on it. So by having that in your YouTube channel means that as people are typing that into Google and searching for, the answer, then often you'll find YouTube videos at the top of search. So it's one way of getting yourself at the top of search is having a YouTube channel that answers those questions that people are asking. The other thing it does too is if people send you an email asking those questions, you can send them an email back with a link to your video, and they get not only the answer that they're looking for, but they get to meet you as well. So they get to hear your voice, they get to see you, so they get a fuller experience rather than just an email response back. That there also increases your conversion rates.
That's sort of along the lines of that famous quote by that awesome fellow, that video is the most engaging medium you can use to get your message out.
Who was that, Paul?
Paul Sheaf, I think, wasn't it?
Yes. Actually, yeah, I would say if you're not using video today, you're mad. Video is, you have a look at your social media platforms, video, they're all over video. You look at, for instance, Facebook, they've got Reels there. Reels are just absolutely going off. The sort of clicks that you're getting through and the engagement you're getting on that, they're way more that you get than you get on your text-based posts. You got, TikTok out there that are sort of up and coming. And I think Eldwin mentioned that earlier on, advertising rates on that are just so cheap. That's because they're building that platform. Now's the time to get in and do it. I do know a Facebook marketer who's now moving all of their clients off Facebook onto TikTok because it's cheaper. They get a bigger bang for buck, and that's where their audience is. If you think it's for young people, I think again, there are people my age on there, would you believe? So,
even I'm there,
yeah, I know, right? So just don't believe the myths that are all around it. Those platforms are all important as well too. And people are building channels on TikTok, those short videos. So if you've got a YouTube channel, I would also consider putting those same videos on TikTok or a variation of those videos on TikTok. They're just really sort of short videos. There are coaches that are using it. And there are, business professionals using it and growing quite a following and, converting that into leads and customers as well. But that is another discussion when, so there is a whole lot of whole strategy in behind using TikTok there. All right, I'm going to cover off one last thing because I haven't got nearly sort of close to all of the stuff we're going to talk about today, but we covered most of it. But the final thing I would want to say to you is most people, when they are doing their marketing and their digital content, have no strategy. So what I mean by that is that they are very tactical with it. And I will put up my hand and say that was how you do it. So what that means is that someone comes along to them and says, you should do Facebook ads because Facebook ads are the best way to get new customers. So a tactical thing is great. Let's go and run some Facebook ads, and they might even do some courses and pick up some programs and some information about how to create Facebook ads. And in fact, the most popular topics are all about how do I create a Facebook ad, not how should I be advertising using Facebook. So the mechanics of creating an ad is, I was going to say reasonably easy. It is reasonably complex, but it's reasonably simple. The mechanics behind a strategy to do your marketing, that's the complex part. So, and that's the part that people miss out on, but that's where the money is. And that's where you generate your leads and customers, is in your strategy. It's not in the tactical side of things of setting up an ad. So that's why people often say, I ran ads, didn't work, spent more than I made. It was a waste of time. I'm never going to do that again. And that's because they're sort of just using the tactic rather than having a strategy. So I do have a strategy. Does anyone here want to hazard an explanation as to what they've seen with my marketing strategy from what you've seen of me online? Anyone want to tell me what I do?
You wear funny shirts.
I wear funny shirts. That is definitely part of my branding. Yep. Steve, you had your hand up. Yes, consistency. Yep. Steve.
I've noticed your copywriting has improved a lot recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's running down a certain track with what you're doing.
That's an interesting observation, Steve. The funny thing is that when you're writing your copy and your marketing, the more you do it, the better you get. So and what you do is you start to change the nuances in how you do it. So that's a really good observation, is it has changed, and it does leave some questions and does leave some things hanging. So that's part of it. What else is part of my strategy that you've noticed?
I've noticed, Nick, that you do Facebook Lives every week and you do lots of free content. Every Tuesday doing this event is extraordinary for as long as you've been doing it too. Very consistent and fantastic information. So no wonder you attract such a great crowd every week. Yep.
So that is, so every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, around about that time, I'm doing a Facebook Live. So yes. And here's the funny thing, what was it on? I think on Monday, we had, what was it, Lorena? We had 4 registrations on Monday morning for this workshop. I think by the close of yesterday, we had maybe 8. Most people register, I don't know what it is, in the afternoon of today. So in the afternoon on Tuesday. Now that has changed. When we first started, or even sort of 2 or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, we would get most of our registrations for this event 2 days prior to the event itself. Now, and this is probably good for you to know if you're filling events as well too, people are not making decisions about going to events until just before the event starts. And sometimes we get people that register afterwards.
It's in case you get a better offer.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what's happening. People are saying, is there a better offer out there? What am I doing? And they are definitely hanging out to see whether there's something better. So I hate to say it, but I'm sort of like the only thing that's left. They haven't had a better offer. This is what's on tonight.
Well, if it helps you feel better about yourself, I was hanging out waiting for your email to come through so that I could click on it and register yesterday.
Excellent. So that's another part of part of the marketing strategy is I send out 2 emails. I send one in the morning, one in the evening. I send them on Tuesday. We've tried Monday, we've tried Sunday, we've tried Friday. The best day that works is Tuesday. So our part of the marketing strategy is to send out those 2 emails on Tuesday. So yes, thank you. Nik Cree, you had something?
I was just going to say repetition is something that I find useful, like repeating the same thing to people. Yep. Even though you think you get sick hearing it yourself, using something repetitively, like, same phrase or the same, these cool business tips that you always have on your shows, on these evenings, and anything that's a core value of what you do,
Yep.
Just keep repeating it, repeat it.
Repetition is absolutely key. You'll notice that, these events, we start our marketing for it tomorrow, like on Wednesday, and they go into a whole host of groups. I know we must post, 10 to 20 times a day into various different groups on Facebook. They are essentially the same posts. We swap up the images sometimes, but sometimes they're the same image. It is repetition because not everyone's going to see it in one place, but they will see it in another place. And what happens too is if people start to see it 2 or 3 times or more, they think this is really popular. What is it? And then they click on it and come along. It's not that it's popular. It's just they've seen it a number of times. So it really just sort of sticks in their brain. So that's part of our marketing strategy as well too, is that repetition. So absolutely. Yep.
For me, Nick, I was going to say, for me, Nick, your question, are you coming tonight, hits me in the, like it stands out in my scroll of emails because I'm not on Facebook seeing you live. So, I mean, it's not, I'm on Facebook, but I'm not looking at it at that time of the day that you might be on, but that question. And then it's like, what's Nick teaching tonight? Then I'll look at what your topic is. Oh, damn, you've got me again. Curious. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, actually that headline too for, the subject line, are you coming tonight, was quite deliberate. That's the one that works the best. We just keep using it. It's also repetitive as well too.
Definitely works. Yeah.
And so again, you've just picked up something else that's using multiple channels. So yes, we use Facebook, we use Instagram, we use TikTok, we use LinkedIn, and we also use email. So the strategic approach is using a number of channels, not just one channel as well too. So it makes you feel like you're everywhere. So, and it's not only that, Aldrin just to mention, offering free content. So the tips, like after this event here, we then cut this up and we post it all over the place. So all of the tips go out. You've probably seen some of it as free content on all the social media platforms. We've got 5 tips. Why do I have 5 tips? It's a Monday to Friday posting. So we're able to use that to post on social media every day. So we've got content up there every day. And we've also got the replay of this, which also gets posted up there as well too, which is day 6. So we've got 6 days worth of video content that goes up, and video content being really important. Again, that forms part of the strategy. So can you see there are lots and lots of moving parts that go into the strategy? It's not just trying Facebook ads or Facebook posts. It's a whole combination of things that actually drives people to my business. And some people will become customers. Other people just get great value. Other people like hanging out in the community. There's a whole lot of reasons. And the other interesting thing too is some people that come along will never become a customer of ours, but they'll recommend us to other people. So never discount the fact that you've got people in your community and people that know you that go and do it themselves. So even if you provide free content to them, that they go and build their own fence or they go and do their own video, there'll be someone else that will ask them, hey, look, I've got a funeral and I'm looking for a videographer. Do you know someone? Yes, I know this great guy, Paul. He helped me with some great tips when I videoed my own. Go to his website and download it, and that there might be just the client that is booking, Paul for the funerals. So it really is an overall sort of strategy to the whole thing. All right.
I was going to say, with your repetitive about asking, can you come? I understand if I didn't act on it one day and then forgot about it, it's good to get that question again and again. But if I booked in the first time or the second time or the third time that I saw it, I would rather see a reminder saying, don't forget that you are booked in to come tonight, or something like that, as opposed to another question that says, can you come tonight? And I thought, of course I can bloody come. I booked in already.
It's funny you say that, Paul. I was thinking about that just this afternoon. We just need to update our flow with that there too. So
yeah, should switch it to, just send a reminder.
Yeah. And so again, that's another important thing. It's like you can't do everything all in a day. It's always a process of constant improvement. And sometimes you get things that annoy people. I'm not saying this annoys you, Paul, but it might. Those are just the things there that become your improvement as well too. So don't think you have to do everything in a day. Start with one thing and then just keep growing and expanding it out. My strategy didn't happen overnight. I've been doing for 10 years now. So it's been accumulation. We've dropped some things off. We've added some things in. We've changed as things happen. But for the new business that we've had, it's only been what 2 years old. It's really only taken probably a year to get that up and running, so people know what SmashGo is and business, and that branding as well too. So it doesn't actually take you long if you're consistently applying effort into it. All right, well, we're at the end of time at the moment. I'm sure we could carry on, but that's it. So any takeaways for you tonight? I mean, has there been some good information you can act on tonight?
Can I ask a quick question, Nick?
Yes.
Before we go, just quickly on the, you said people are booking last minute. I found that last week with my Free Publicity Secrets Masterclass with the paid event, I'm finding people leaving it right up until within the last 12 to 24 hours. How are you finding it for bookings with free events versus paid events?
About the same, actually.
Okay.
Yep, about the same. So,
interesting.
Yeah. And again, it's still that thing is there a better offer out there? What am I doing? I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. That people are still making decisions, last minute. So regardless of whether it's paid or free.
Okay.
Depending on how urgent is the need is that you're solving.
Yes.
So if it's got a lot more urgency or importance to it, you will find people will book in early for it. If it just doesn't have quite that, then they'll book on the day.
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. I did promise that we have a door prize tonight. So I will move over to draw that, but I'll tell you what it is. Tomorrow, some of you may have seen in social media posting or the emails have come out, running tomorrow a customer explosion masterclass. So really what we've talked about today is the problems that you have with getting those leads and customers. Tomorrow is all about what are the things that you specifically need to put in place to solve it. So it will be a masterclass. It's a workshop style there where you will start to put together some of these things. So you've got you won't have a full strategy, but you'll have the beginnings of a strategy that you can use to really start to amp up your marketing. Now, here's the objective of it is how many people at the moment find that they have to chase and sort of hustle for customers? They're always out marketing and looking for customers. Who's doing that at the moment? Yep. Okay. So the objective of this is when you've got a good strategy there, then that stops happening and it turns around so the customers are looking for you. So rather than having to have all of this outbound marketing, you've got a lot of inbound inquiries coming in. So if you imagine the difference between having to try and find, I don't know, so 10 new customers a week, and you're out there having to talk to or communicate with in some way, shape or form 200 people versus just having 10 emails into your inbox or phone calls, which would you prefer? So tomorrow is all about how do you switch that equation around, and we've got some specific strategies and apps and tools and things you can do for that. So that's running tomorrow. If you do want to come along to it, it is $77. It is a morning session from 8 till 12. It's online on Zoom. So just turn up. I would recommend if you're coming along, turn up with a pen and paper just to take some notes as well. We'll do some stuff online, but it's going to be helpful to have. I'm a bit of a pen and paper old school person because I can jot down stuff and remember it. The link for it is in the chat. So if you do want to come along, then click on that, come along tomorrow, and it will be well worth your while in terms of getting some of these pieces to the puzzle in place. So the reason why I mentioned that is that the door prize tonight is 2 tickets along to this. So I've got 2 tickets along to this for people that want to win it. So don't book just now. We will run the draw, and there'll be sort of 2 people here that will win tonight. So let me pull up our wheel of names. All of your names are in here now. And just remember, you've got to be here to win. So let's spin the wheel and find our lucky winner. Drum roll, please. Virtual drum roll. And the first one is Nicola Kane.
Hey.
Excellent. All right, we'll shoot a link out to you for that for tomorrow. So that's 8 o'clock Australian time. What's that? 10 o'clock your time, I think, Nicola. Our to that if you find you can't make it, then you'll have access to the recordings when you register as well too. And we've got one more to go, and another virtual drum roll, and our lucky winner for this one here is Peter Beckenham, but Peter's not here. He had to duck off early. So let's redraw that. And this time it is Aldwin. Yahoo!
Yay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Excellent. All right. Well, there we go. That's our session for tonight. Hope you found it valuable and that you've got some things that you can do to really level up your lead generation and your customers and get your websites working. The essential thing that I did mention was a CRM. You need to have a CRM. If you haven't, feel free to contact. I can give you some recommendations, help you set it up if you need that as well too. If you want to watch the replay of this, it will be up on our SmashGo YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon. So the link there will be in chat to the YouTube channel. Best thing to do is to go and subscribe to it. Click the bell after you've subscribed, and then you'll get a notification that it is there. But apart from that, I'd love to see some of you at the masterclass tomorrow. The link is in chat. Now's a really good time to save the chat with those three little dots on the right-hand side. When you do click those three dots to save it, you will see a link there that will say show and find or show on your computer. Click that link and it'll just open it straight up for you so you don't have to go off and search for it. So, and for those of you who don't make it tomorrow, love to see you again next week. And so thanks for everyone for coming along and have a sensational week. See you next time. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nik Cree, spelled Nikree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.